Hey everybody, my name is Fletcher. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Halp. Really excited to be here. I'm in here today from Boulder, Colorado. So a little bit about Halp. We are based in Boulder, Colorado. We were backed by Techstars. So we went through the Techstars Boulder program in 2018. And then 2019, we raised our seed round. So we're backed by a firm out of Boulder called Matchstick Ventures. They're a Foundry Group Next portfolio firm. And then the Slack fund backed us as well, CEO of Gainsight, a bunch of other really great investors. We're 12 full-time people based between Boulder and Denver. So super excited to be here. And in the last year since we've launched our product, we've gotten a pretty incredible roster of companies. I'd say kind of the dream for any enterprise tech company to get logos like this. You'll see a lot of great New York-based companies up here. We've got companies all over the country and across the globe, B2C, B2B, some really incredible brands. And so how have we done that quickly? The reason is because we've caught on to a couple of, I think, really important trends and solved a really big problem for these companies due to those trends. So the trend that we're catching on to is that each time there's been a major change in the way people communicate in the workplace, there's also been a bunch of really, really valuable software built on top of that communication layer. So you look back in the 1990s, we had phones, and phones, you'd pick up the phone, you'd call your coworker, you'd call IT, that's how you'd actually communicate with your coworkers. Massive call center software built on top of phones. And then in the 2000s, we had email turn into the primary communication modality, and we had these huge companies built on top of email, Jira, ServiceNow, really, really big businesses, Zendesk. And now we're entering the era of messaging and chat. And so our fundamental belief is that there's going to be massive opportunities and really big businesses built on top of messaging. And the one that we've honed in on is this actually really fundamental problem that every company deals with, which is IT, just getting IT support. And the companies we talk to, a lot of them, this is still the way that you get IT support at the company. You have to go to a portal or send an email to the help desk email address. You fill out this long form, and then you just never hear back, right? And you never get your problem resolved. And so instead, what we see companies setting up is they set up these channels in Slack, or they just end up messaging the IT person directly and just going around the system and ask for stuff. And the companies we talk to, about 75% of their requests are just completely untracked. They have no way to understand the tickets, they have no way to staff correctly, they have no way to tell what the problems at their company actually are. And so we solve that problem. That fundamentally is what we do, because we've created a new ticketing system that's built for this message-based world. It starts with these IT admins. That's our initial buyer, is typically the IT admin or sysadmin at a company. But we've seen it expand into all the technology operation parts of a business. These requests are happening across all those different parts of the business. So DevOps, facilities, sales ops, then we'll start to use our product. And beyond that, we see this being a tool that all of the operations teams in a company would use. So that's the background. I think our product really speaks for itself, so I'm gonna actually flip over and just show you exactly how it works. So the majority of our customers are pretty heavily invested in Slack, and Slack is the hub of where all their communication happens. We've designed our product to work very, very seamlessly inside of Slack. So my demo, the way this works here is I actually have two different users logged into the same Slack workspace. My user on the right here, which is gonna be Mike. Mike is gonna be our person who's actually got a problem and needs help. My person on the left here is 11, so it's a Stranger Things themed demo. And Mike's gonna have a problem. 11 is our IT person, our admin, who's actually gonna resolve it. So that same thing that's been happening in the past is still happening. There's this IT help channel. It's the easiest way for employees to ask for questions, ask for support, right? So someone pops in here and says, hey, my computer or maybe my printer is on fire, right? And I spelled on wrong, of course. And they posted into this channel, right? And so in the past, this just would have maybe turned into a conversation, but it wouldn't have been tracked at all. Now, all that person has to do, they can do this, or the IT person can do it, is they just actually add an emoji to that message. So we've got it set to the ticket emoji here. This is our most popular way to make a ticket, is using the ticket emoji. We've now opened up a thread on this message that actually contains the ticket. So the ticket now lives inside the thread, and this idea of threading is our way of organizing the conversation around the ticket. So you can see we have ticket 858, we've grabbed the title, we now have this structured object to actually track and manage what's going on. At the same time, on the other side, for the admin, they actually have this private Slack channel that we call a triage channel. So all incoming requests, they could come from email, they could come from a Slack channel, from a DM, they could come from anywhere. They'll all land in this one triage channel for the team to collaborate around. So they can now pop into this thread, and they'll see the same ticket 858. You can see this is the same one as over here, and they can pop in here and say, hey, Mike, we're coming with some water. And when they respond, what our product actually does is sync those two threads. So that message is now posted over here so that Mike can see it. Him or any of the other employees can respond and say thank you. And that whole back and forth is actually synced between those two threads. 11 can also do things like edit the ticket. So she might go in here and change the assignee or change the status or change any of the fields on the ticket. She can even do something as advanced as adding a private note, which she'd do by just adding the lock emoji in front of her message, and might say, Mike sucks, he always breaks the printer. And Mike's not going to see this, right? Because it's a private note. You can see we've also actually suggested an answer to the agent that we've recognized that it's a printer question and suggested a knowledge base article related to the printer question. So we can start to do some really advanced stuff, even though it's really lightweight and easy for an employee to use. This is our complete Slack experience. So a lot of our customers, we found they just never want to leave Slack, and they do their entire experience here from Slack. But we also have the ability for the IT person who's actually doing this all day, every day. They might want to work out of a dedicated interface to actually answer tickets. They've got to look at reports. They've got to go through a list view of all their tickets. So we make that really easy too. You just log in with your Slack account. You now have access to this entire conversation. You can answer here from the web. Say, hey, Mike, this is me from the web. And when you respond from here, you'll see that's really fast as well, right? Just syncing back to that thread. And we're handling notifications and all the back and forth here as well. This is where you get kind of what you expect out of a ticketing system, except it's a much more humanized and personalized feel, right? We're having a conversation between my coworker and I. It shouldn't be this cold, heartless email. It should be this really humanized experience, and I want to know where they are and what office they're in and all sorts of stuff about them. And so we bring that all into one place for you. This is also where you look at a list of tickets. So you might want to go through and say, what are all the tickets assigned to me, and run a report on them or export them out. So you're able to do all of that. And then this is also where you administrate the ticketing system, right? So if you want to get a little more advanced, once you have people making tickets, you might say, you know what, I want to set up a form and actually have people fill out a form when they're submitting a ticket. Okay, great. So we've got some forms set up. Now I can just do the /halp command, and we might say, I've got a general request. And we can actually fill out our whole form right here in Slack when we're submitting a ticket. Now, based on that form, because we've got all this structured data, we can actually route this to different teams. So if I fill out a facilities request form, we're going to route that to the facilities team and assign it to the right person, maybe escalate it automatically based on an emoji or another interaction. So you start to see very advanced workflows that people build, but the entry is very lightweight. It's these Slack-based teams that really just want to sign up and start using it, right? So that's where you build all this stuff, though. The fields and the forms, recipes are what we call our if-then automations. So I think we have a cool one here. So I can add the fire emoji to a message, and it'll actually assign it to me, or maybe set the priority or something like that, right? So you can start to understand, hey, I can really build a complex system here. I can handle pretty large scale. And for our really big customers, the folks like Peloton and Adobe and some of those big brands, they can also actually integrate with a Jira or a Zendesk and sync all their tickets with a system like that. So if you already have a big system in place, we'll sync and play nice with that existing system. And if you have nothing, we'll be your standalone ticketing system. So that's a quick demo of Halp. Here's my contact information. Would love to chat with anybody who's interested in learning more, excited about potentially trying it out. We're actually hosting a happy hour on Friday for some of our customers. So a lot of great technical operations and IT folks will be there. Would love to see you there. If you're interested, just find Comran and I. We're in the jackets that are really hard to miss. So thanks, everyone. Great to be here.
Awesome. Round of applause for Fletcher. We'll do a few questions now. Questions? Yes, sir.
Hi, have you considered integrating with contact centers and customer-facing ticketing systems? One of the biggest challenges these contact centers have, a telecom, a utility company, any customer service center, is their customer service reps have to connect with a lot of different people to solve a particular customer's problems through these types of channels. Have you considered that kind of integration to make their lives better and therefore improve customer experience?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so the question was if we considered integrating with contact centers or kind of targeting more of the external facing customer service teams. So it is something we've looked at in terms of the actual interaction with the client and that piece. We're not very interested in that. What you're talking about, I'd probably describe as support operations, right? So the support team interacting with the rest of the company. And for that, yeah, we do work really well. We can ingest tickets via email, or you can create a Jira or a Zendesk ticket, and we can actually ingest that, and then you can actually have a whole conversation around the thread. We're most interested in the internal interaction because that's where it's a conversational, message-based interaction, and that's where we really stand out. If you're just looking at email, there's tons of solutions for you, right? So yeah, I'd consider that the support operations portion, which fits pretty well into sort of our target audience. Good question. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Does it integrate with Microsoft Teams?
Good question. Yeah. So does it integrate with Microsoft Teams? Not yet. We've been doing some sort of early beta testing with folks. We found that folks use Microsoft Teams very differently from the way that they use Slack. It's much more of a file sharing and video call and sort of direct one-to-one tool for them. It's something we're planning on, and we just want to make sure we're very thoughtful about it. We've designed the system to work really well for multiple different instances of messaging. We have a lot of enterprise customers or MSPs that have multiple Slack instances, and so we can support as many Slack instances as you have and actually sync between different Slack instances already. So all it takes now is just adding Microsoft Teams as one of those different options. And we see that as well where companies have both Slack and Teams deployed at larger enterprises. Do we see trends on the types of requests or the volume specifically? Yeah, so if you're a less technical company, you're gonna have a lot more IT questions. It's pretty linear though, I will say. Like the number of IT people is fairly consistent at 2%-ish. The ops function is growing, I would say overall. IT is a small segment of it and ops as a whole is growing because Salesforce admins don't wanna say that they're IT, but they kind of are. But yeah, I would say it's actually pretty consistent. It just depends on how tech savvy you are as a company.
All right, one more question.
Are there any integrations that allow tech to actually like troubleshoot or support, like taking over the screen or from the window? Or is it only communication?
Good question. Yeah, so like remote management and RMM type of, yeah. So you can do that through Slack, which is sort of nice, right? You have the screen sharing and video sharing directly through Slack. So we haven't built anything ourselves yet, but it is something we're sort of thinking about and how we can better integrate with those tools. We'd probably integrate over actually building. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, with that, huge round of applause for Fletcher, his awesome jacket. And Fletcher will be around later after the meetup to answer any other questions.